Oh, there you are. Thought maybe you skipped out on us there. I'm going to cover a few little things here. Then we're going to turn it over to our friendly Round Rock PD, Officer Marimaros, and or I'm going to call you Angelo.
There you go.
Angelo.
Yeah, because you butchered my last name.
Angel Marmalade.
You'll learn after us.
Marmalade.
Okay, I don't know how to get a bunch of M's in it, but we'll turn it over to Angelo. And you see, I knew JoJo for like 10 years, so it took me like 2 years to learn JoJo. So be patient with me, okay? Everybody has a lot of questions, and so when I'm done with a few things we're going to cover here, I'll step out and turn it over to him, and you guys just let him talk a little bit about, there's all kinds of issues going on in the neighborhood that everybody's concerned about, and I'm sure that he can answer those questions for us. So, a couple of things. You all received the budget that we have for this year. Does anybody have any questions on the budget? Anybody? Okay. Anybody want to move that we accept the budget for this year?
So moved.
Any second? Second. Moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? I followed Robert's Rules of Order. I usually forget to ask for discussion. Okay, slate of officers for this year, or should I say, it's not even, I don't know what it is, it's like imprisonment or something, but anyway, we have Don Yenny as our secretary, me as president. We have a new and exciting vice president, Mary Beth Ray, sitting right over here. Mary Beth has stepped in. We also have somebody I'm really excited about that's not here this evening, is Shelby Covington. Shelby's a young mom here in the neighborhood and has decided to step in and help with our activities coordination, our event coordination of things like National Night Out, and take some of the load off of Don. And one of my goals for this next couple of months, you're going to be getting a lot of emails looking for some volunteers, because one big hole we need to fill is a sign squad. I need a sign squad. I need 4 or 5 people that are available to put signs out. And signs go out 10 months a year for meetings. It used to be like once a year. Now it seems like every 3 months we're putting voting signs out. But we have election signs that have to go out for elections. We have National Night Out signs that go out for that. We have 4th of July parade signs that go out. And am I missing anything else? Sound like I covered it all. Okay. So I'm going to be recruiting some people to take that job. We right outside here we have a storage shed where we keep all of our signs, and it takes anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes to an hour to put all the signs out, and about the same to pick them up. Yep. Okay, so that's a couple hours time once a month maybe for a group of people. So and if there's more than one, that's what the times I just gave you is with one guy doing it. Okay, so if 2 or 3 or 4 people are doing it, you're talking about 20 minutes and it's done. So. Floodplain. How many of you here live in the floodplain? I know there's a couple of you. I thought somebody walked in there. Nobody?
I got one little corner, but that's it.
Yeah, but you're not in the floodplain. That's right. I remember now.
Yeah, we were able to get away.
Well, never mind. We won't talk about that.
Well, good.
We will talk about the brief update on the dams. The dams are moving along. You remember we're talking about 2 dams that are designed to take all the homes in the neighborhood out of the floodplain. There's been some revision to that because further studies have shown that of those 2 dams, there was one great big one and one small one. And they've done some further studies that shows the big one may just do the trick. And because of budget constraints, we're trying to roll money over into the big dam. Both dams are still proceeding as far as design. And we're still working with the city of Round Rock. The total project cost right now is about $26 million, or we're about $8 million short, $8 or $9 million short. So we've got to fill that gap. I'm meeting with the county, trying to get some money out of the county. But the project is going to go forward. It's in the city of Round Rock's best interest, because anybody that has flood insurance knows that the rates keep going higher and higher and higher. And if your neighbors who are in the floodplain, if their homes start going, they start leaving them because they can't afford flood insurance and nobody's buying them, and values in the neighborhood start doing this, and that's what we don't want. And that doesn't help the city of Round Rock or the county or the school district either. So we're working hard on getting that done. There are 2, next month we're going to have a condensed candidates forum for 1 position, and that's for the Upper Brushy Creek Water Control Improvement District. There's 2 open seats. We're going to have 4 candidates here, 2 existing that are on the board and 2 challengers that'll be here to talk to you about that election. We don't do this. We used to do the candidate forums from city council and all the other races in town until it got to become a 3-ring circus in here. And that's when I shut it off, because it didn't become a neighborhood thing. It became everybody from the other neighborhood coming to our neighborhood. So, and it was a real zoo. So we don't do those candidate forums anymore. This one we're doing because it's very specific to our neighborhood, because of the 100+ homes that in our neighborhood that are in the floodplain that'll be affected by these dams when we get them built. So it's important that we have the right people on the board, and I want you guys to get to talk to them all, to have a chance to vote for them in the May election. So that's what we'll have next meeting. That's all I got. Did I do something? What, did I not hear your cell phone ring? Because that's a $50 fine.
Sure.
I'm deaf now. Any other questions before we turn it over to Angelo? Anybody? Wow, things must be going great, except for all the high crime and stuff going on in our neighborhood. So, okay, Angelo, it's all yours. Oh, wait, hang on just a
I
second.
just want to, I
Yes.
sent you an email, I think, but I love the Christmas video that somebody did.
That man does the Christmas
Oh,
video.
yes.
That man does like all of that editing and putting it together. So
Yeah,
that's
it
the
was-
guy that does it. I claim 0 credit for that.
It was
I'd
really,
like to,
thank
but I
you
can't.
for doing that. That was, oh,
And you know what's funny? There's still some people that have ended up on our email list that don't live in, they're like in Utah, and that's one lady I remember, and she got a thank you because it was reminding her of the old neighborhood that she used to live in. So
it was
so
really,
that worked out well there.
really good. Thank you for doing that.
Okay, Angelo, come on up. It's all yours.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Wait a minute, I want to see this here.
Marino.
There you go.
Thanks, Mike. Hello, camera. Thanks for having me, guys and girls. I didn't see any of y'all at the National Night Out, so this is new. I'm going to introduce myself. That's a joke. I know that. This next year, October 2nd, that's the day. My name's Angelo Marmarino, so I'm going to kind of give you a background of me, where I came from, where I got to where I am today. I grew up in a small town called Orange, Texas. Is anybody from Orange? All right. Grew up there. What made you move to Round Rock? You just got smart?
I moved to Austin, then moved in.
Oh, well, don't say Austin. I wouldn't brag about Austin. So yes, I grew up there. I eventually went to college. Yes, I know, I don't look like I'm a college girl. And then I ended up joining the Marine Corps. Any Marines in there? No? All right. Yeah, whatever. So 4 years active duty Marine Corps infantry, deployed overseas. I knew I wanted to be in law enforcement, but I couldn't until you're 21. Apparently it's how old you have to be a cop in Texas. So I did the Marine Corps, I got out of the Marines, I moved to Austin. I wanted to start my roots somewhere fresh, because I grew up in Southeast Texas. It's there every 8 years and then it gets wiped out by a hurricane, so I didn't want to live that life. This flood insurance is very expensive, right, Mike? That's right. So I moved to Austin area, started police academy. My first cop job was the Waynes County Sheriff's Office. I started there in 2009. During that tenure, I was out on the east side of Waynes County, and I thought I was invincible like any young cop feels. I eventually got married and had kids, and then I realized I need somewhere safer. Round Rock is the ideal. Everybody wants to be at in Williamson County is Round Rock. The next is Austin, but then we don't want to deal with all that drama over there. So Round Rock was the next place I wanted to work at. 2011, I got hired. I've been on patrol. I've been on the SWAT team for about 3.5 years. Unfortunately, or fortunately, what you can say that, the community affairs position came open, which is Joseph Claypool's old spot. He kind of lied to me a little bit, told me it was the greatest gig ever. I love it. It's the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life, being community affairs liaison officer, because I'm everything. If nobody figure out who does it, guess who they tell is me. I am that guy. I do firearm stuff. I teach firearm classes. I'm over the Citizens on Patrol, which Larry back here is in. He's an active member, and I'm sure he's been through y'all neighborhood, spotlighting some of the people, and maybe y'all out and about. Like I said, I've been doing it, and then I got the community affairs position in April of last year, 17. And I had to give up SWAT. The chief said it wasn't practical because I was breaking down doors and then high-fiving and hugging, right? So that wouldn't work. Because I give out a lot of stickers, right? Stickers to little kids and things like that, and doing HOA events. Pretty much everything I do. I miss SWAT team, but this role is very important for me. My family supports it. It takes away from my family a lot. But my wife only complains now when I'm gone, but then when we get paid, then she don't complain. Sees how much work I put into it. All right. So thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me. Like I said, I wish I could have made it to y'all's National Night Out event. I was looking forward, and I get to organize 100 and something officers to go to 50 something parties throughout the community, and y'all was one of them I was going to go to. Mike said you'll have some good stuff planned, so it's unfortunate he canceled on us, but something about the weather. Right?
Weather related.
Yeah. Mike said he framed houses or built roofs for many years, right, Mike?
That's right.
That's right. See, I remember. So it's unfortunate, but I want to talk about your community. Y'all know Round Rock is growing. Y'all see it every day. Y'all live here. The news paints a picture, but Round Rock community is a great community, and we love working for this community and you guys. And we're always open for new ideas or if you have concerns. I'm going to go over. I passed out the last 6 months statistics. Crime trend patterns. We utilize this data for crime trend as well. Of course, it's only limited for bar pie charts, graphing, and talking about the different offenses. But I like to explain them because people look at the numbers and think, wow, there's a lot of activity in our neighborhood. But I want to tell you, y'all have a big neighborhood association because y'all are not homeowners, right? You're a neighborhood association. Like I said, I've been to all HOA meetings or neighborhood associations, and there's been times that I've talked to 2 people. And then there's been a time I've talked to 100 people. Y'all have a great turnout. What is the number today, Mike?
30.
30.
Well, 31 or 2, I think, a couple more.
Yep. But I can tell you, if there was something big in your neighborhood going on, there would be a lot of y'all here. But it is still a great turnout. So we're going to talk about, go to the second page because the first page really not much good stuff on
I
there.
have a question on the first page.
Okay, first page. Back to the first page.
The white part that's not in blue, but I guess it's like the Cimarron section. Why is that not part of the report? For Wildwood, and Wood Hill, and Rock Creek?
Is that in your neighborhood? What you talking about, Rock Creek Drive?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's in your association? Because what tends to happen is we keep these graphs.
It's the same map that comes off of next door, and everybody pulls that map. For some reason or another, they pick one up, they only pick part of it.
So what I'll do is, thanks for the update, I'll add it. So there, y'all, if you know your layout of where it is, because I tell you, there's parts of the area where they're like, no, we don't associate with that street in our neighborhood. Excuse me? Yeah, they're renters or they're duplexes, things like that. So if you need to update that, I'll change it. I'll get it updated for the next meeting. But that's because honestly, y'all know where the settlement is. There's a 1, 2, and an old settlement. And a lot of it's like, what? I don't understand.
Well, we have Round Rock West section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There you go.
A's, B's in there.
Yeah.
And then Cimarron 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, A, B, and stuff.
It's confusing, and trust me, it's confusing for us too. So I'll get it updated. I'll just make sure that is in your neighborhood. And I'll get with Mike to try to draw that map, and I can get that data added as well. But like I said, some neighborhood associations, they pick and choose their streets. So we try to benefit the association that's actually organized, like yourself here. Any questions on the first page? 928 calls for 911, abandoned hangups. That could be kids, that could be anything that they don't have a specific, other than someone calling 911 and hang up. Very common, especially India. If you're calling India, apparently, the country code is 911. So that's another big one. I'm not saying that's happening in your neighborhood, but I can tell you, I've been on the streets long enough, and we get a lot of them. So we'll go to the second page, because I think it's better information for you guys. In this past 6 months, remember this is from July 17 to December 17, there was 35 called-in accidents in your community. Yes, I know there is a cut-through to Round Rock High School through y'all's community, and cut-through from thoroughfares, because a lot of police are on thoroughfares and a lot of people like to go back route. Yes, sir.
Is that when they're saying on these accidents and stuff, does that include McNeil, the street?
No. No, that's in the actual highlighted areas, because that's how the crystal reports is formed. Out of them, 16 were reportable accidents.
That's traffic only and not like lawnmower or something like that, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. That is a traffic collision that's happened on the roadway itself. That's a traffic accident. Looks like 16 were reported, meaning they were actually damaged, maybe not major accidents, but these are all minor, of course. Major accidents, I'll go down to major accidents. Y'all had a major accident in your neighborhood. So 35, but 16 were reported through GPS. What's that?
The van that flipped over on Creekmont.
Creekmont, when was this?
Because we're not in there. It's not part of the...
We're not in your area.
We're not part of
It's not on there, right? It'll get fixed. If
That's why it's
it's
not
in there, we'll
reported.
put it on there.
But that's not why it's not reported.
Okay, we'll see. Alarm 17, not a big deal. People have alarm issues all the time. That's why they eventually fine you, but not in the city of Round Rock, right?
Right. After the third one.
After the third one, they will suspend your alarm. Yes, sir.
I was just saying, just going back to the action, what counts under other as to the disposition? Well, you got a lot, you got arrest made, no report, referred, report.
There is-
What else could be another? I mean, you got everything else.
There's blue form. The other on that specific one would be blue form. There's referred to other agencies. I know it says referred, but there's another CAD, maybe, because there's referred to other, referred, there's 0. It could be referred to, because there's 3 referred calls, one to an outside agency, one to fire department, and one's referred, I forgot, I'll tell you that one. There's a different couple statuses that it could be.
Okay, just wondered.
Yep. Let's see, assault not progresses. There was 11 reported in a 6-month period. 7 of them were held ground, meaning they're held merit. So there were 7 documented reports. But a lot of times, because of dragging and all that, kids tend to fight back in the neighborhood from the school. It kind of spills into y'all's neighborhood. So we get a lot of park calls as well. There's a park over off the Round Rock West, Duck Pond. Right? If I could tell you how many calls were there, I would. Let's go bring it out to my call. Kids like to organize and fight. That happens throughout the city. Don't think it's anything special in your neighborhood. Burglary not in progress. Out of the 14 burglary not in progress, 9 reports were taken. Anybody here been burglarized in the last 6 months? Yes, sir.
The van.
Was your vehicle?
Yeah.
Was it left unlocked?
No.
How was it broken into? Unknown.
Unknown.
It was left unlocked. No, I'm kidding. I had to do an interview before coming here to a young student and a school, an elementary school. It was in regards to Boy Scouts. He's in Boy Scouts, and it's like a community helper thing. And it was an interview of a law enforcement official in regards to, and he gets to pick. And his was vehicle burglaries and thefts, right? I tell everybody, you see in businesses, parking lots, where a lot of them have the signs, right? What does it say, them signs?
Not block your
Block,
things that.
take, and hide, right? When When you talk about lock, that's plain and simple. Lock your doors. Take every valuable out of the vehicle. Hide. And I tell this to everybody. Hiding is the last resort. All right? I would rather you take it out because if they break in, it's an Easter find. I mean, they're looking for something, right? But what are criminals? Criminals mostly are dumb, but yes, there are some smart ones, right? The smart ones will sit in a parking lot for a long period of time and watch you. Watch everything you do. All right. Now, let me ask you. All right. Y'all are the police officer. Y'all are the criminal. I drive my car in your parking lot. Well, say I go to the gas station. All right. This is me in the driver's seat, and then I do this. Or what am I doing? Are y'all scientists? Okay. So, as a burglar, they're watching people, right? They like to hang out in gyms, right? At gym parking lots, at restaurant parking lots. They like to hang out at, because a lot of times guys, we'll say guys, they have guns, a lot of them carry guns, and they think, you know what? This gun's pinching my belly, and I'm about to go eat and expand my belt a little bit. I don't want that gun poking me. So what do? They hide their gun in their car. Alright? I tell everybody when you go to ATM, I know everybody sees online, pull your ATM card, right? Pull that reader to make sure it's not a clone reader on top of it, correct? Another thing, this is one of the best tactics I tell people. When you go to an ATM, get out of your car and stop and look around. If somebody is staring at you in their vehicle, that is a sign of, you know what? A lot of times, more times than none, if a burglar is watching at an ATM and you stop and you make eye contact with him, direct eye contact, what is he going to think? You're onto him, right? So you're going to make him uncomfortable, and then you're going to see the drive away, right? Go back, lock, take, hide, right? Lock your stuff, take your valuables out. If you absolutely have to hide it before you get to that location. Because these people will watch you. They will see what you're hiding. If you have, I support the Second Amendment, Glock stickers, AR-15 stickers on your truck, your car, what is that showing a burglar? That you have guns. There is a high chance if I break into that car, I have a high probability I'm going to get a gun out of that car. What do burglars look for? Money, electronics, guns. That is the number 3 thing they're looking for. Yes, sir.
What else are they not supposed to leave on their visors?
Garage door openers.
Garage door openers. I've trained them well.
I have one of mine.
Mine's on.
But, if you break into my car, I'm sorry, you ain't going to get anything, sorry. I get on to my wife all the time. What is it? I'm saying y'all do it. What do women tend to do? Look at that big thing, right? Did you have back surgery carrying that thing? How many back surgeries? No. Yeah, of course. How many, come on, raise your hand. How many people left their purse in the car out here? They're just not going to raise it.
I put it in the trunk.
In the trunk, okay. If I know there's a purse in the trunk and I'm a bad guy, do you think it's very difficult? If I'm going to waste my time and break into your car? Because if you get your car broken into, majority of the time, not all the times, majority of the times, they're going to break into the window, right? Or defeat your lock, right? Because it's quick and out. That's it. They don't want to stay. That's at businesses, populated areas, major thoroughfare area. I-35 is a corridor. You know why they break in off the interstates? Is because before the police get there, they're in 2 cities away, right? Because they're on the thoroughfare and gone.
They 35 in a while, haven't you?
I'm sorry. Between these times. But that's all we went down on burglaries. I'm just kidding. But residential burglaries. I'm not saying it doesn't happen that people break into, the actual use force, but more times than none, I'm going to say this because I have to deal with it when I'm on the streets. people left their car unlocked, and I left it locked. I'm telling you, to pick a car's lock, there's actually, if you didn't know, you have a house key. Everybody look at your house key. There's only cuts on one side, right? Because you have pins in your lock that are only reading one side of the key. A car key has double. That means it's two sides. Yes, it's the same, but it's a little bit more difficult than a regular house to pick a lock. I'm not saying nobody's ever picked a lock, because I arrested a guy, a felon, that was picking locks at an apartment complex, because apartment complexes, they have very loose locks. Why? Because they have a lot of times change-in, people using them a lot of times. At residences, a lot of people use their garage, correct? To get in their house. Right? So their locks are a little bit tighter and harder to pick. I took a lock defeating course before, so I was on a SWAT team. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And actually learned a lot about locks, defeating locks and stuff like that. It's very difficult. The more expensive, the more pins there are going to be in the lock. So back to burglaries. I got off point. Lock, take, hide, right? Absolute last resort, hide it if you have to. Did I kind of answer the question? Or wasn't even a question? Back to page.
You sent me evidence of the electronic copy machines for the pump, where they can put the device up against the house and read what's on this inside the house.
Read what's on your garage door opener?
Yeah, they can know.
This is car.
No, this is car. I saw it on the internet where the.
Oh, it's definitely true then. The fob, okay. If you break into your car fob, there's actually a unique number for that fob. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. You know, look at, hackers in the U.S. What's the big thing right now? Russia hacking the election, right? Of course, anything's breakable. If you think your iPhone is not breakable, hackable, you're wrong, right? But I have not seen it. We've been seeing gas pumps, right? Gas pumps. They will actually break into the gas pump and put a little device in and connect it to an external harness connector. And then they're in the parking lot and you're swiping away and it's sending it Bluetooth to their device. Or a lot of times they'll do that way so they don't have to come back and get it. So it'll just go wirelessly because they're in the area, right? And these guys are white-collar criminals. They're not going to use it. They're going to sell it to somebody in North Carolina who's then going to go ahead and sell that information to somebody in Philadelphia and then back to California. The same cycle, the black market. But it happens. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. Yes, sir.
So the pump y'all are seeing it, or is it the side of the pumps that the cashiers can't see?
It's inside the pump. So y'all see, every pump, you can see the key, right? Where the key enters. But if you look, there's a crease. And they usually put a sticker on it. If you see that sticker broken, a lot of times the weather, the heat will kind of make it crack. If you see it, it's broken, let the clerk know and don't use that machine. Because ultimately it could have somebody accessed it, because remember, locks can be defeated. Or some clerk got fired a long time ago, cloned the key, gave it to somebody, and it was an organized plan. But if you see that sticker, now you're going to look at every pump like, oh, there's a sticker. I never noticed it.
It's a Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, there's a sticker, and they'll put it on every time they service the unit, every time that unit's open. It's difficult for someone else to do it and then replace that sticker because of the wear. It's one of the real thin stickers. If it's defeated, you'll know.
Do you guys publish where those have been found?
So, I don't know. I think we've put it on social media. When you mean published, you meant like on our website?
Yeah.
Encourage gas stations to
So
pay a
what we
little more
do,
attention.
yeah, so of course we're all about education, right? Sending out Twitter, Facebook, social media. We don't put that information on our website. I can tell you we are developing a new website for the police department, and that could possibly be something, but I can tell you our white-collar investigators, actually now it's a part of their routine. Every few days they have to go to different pumps, different stores, and do a check. And that's kind of working together with the actual gas pumps all around the town. So if somebody thinks something suspicious, clerks are the #1 person, right? They know when something's been tampered with. They can open the box and go, I don't know what I'm right? But if they ever feel like something's been broken into or doesn't feel right about a machine, they will actually call us and we will come do an inspection of all the pumps. Does that answer your question?
No, the bad PR to the gas stations that they got the skimmer installed on their pumps.
Well, of course,
They
that's what we don't.
encourage them to be a lot more vigilant about checking the damn pumps for is it bad? I mean,
You talking about?
it infuriates me when I see it on the news. They say some gas station on XYZ road had a skimmer in it. Well, please tell me which one.
Yeah, so nobody goes spend money there, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Or if you
heard
have
that,
a
what
regular
I'm
light on there.
it'll encourage
No, I
them
agree.
to check it. You know.
I can tell you, everybody's been affected with something like this. So does that help now?
Sure.
I don't want to say, hey, go down here. Actually, my car was on E. I'm surprised I got here. I'm being serious, but I'm going to go to 7-Eleven, all right? I'm pretty sure there's been every store that's had some type of break, right? I don't want to say, hey, this, so then nobody's going to go spend their money. You know? It happens. We're expecting, minimum wage employees to do a lot of tasks, right? And a lot of it's outside their knowledge, right? Because they have to deal with money, they have to deal with a lot of stuff. So, yes, ma'am.
Can't you just go inside?
Of course, yes. You can go inside and do it if you like, yeah. A lot easier, right? Then you just gotta watch the clerk, like, had that happen.
So speaking of which, say the clerk looks disinterested. Oh, sure, I'll talk to somebody about that, like you go. Non-emergency number, where would you report that?
Yeah, non-emergency, it's non-emergency.
Yeah.
218-5500.
That's right. Yeah. Any other questions?
Well, now, I just want to say that at some of the stations, if you push credit, it will ask for your zip code, and that's all you have to put in. You don't have to put in your own personal PIN.
Yes.
And that is
Yes.
supposed to be safe.
I don't believe it. I can tell you this. I'm actually one of the patrol guys at the credit card skimmer, swiper in my actual car. And when I was on patrol, I bust a lot of people who have a lot of gift cards that had people's personal information on the card. And the first 6 digits of your credit card, you know what that is, right? So who has a Visa? Starts with a 4. MasterCard. 5.
Silver 6.
There you go. 3. Now the first 6 digits of your card are actually your BIN number, which is your bank identification number. So with your first 6 digits, I can go to Google and go to a BIN search and see what company your card is from. But of course, if I steal a car in Round Rock, or a card, I'm pretty sure how many zip codes are there in Round Rock? Very high probability you have a local zip code, right? So out of area, but also if I'm stealing your credit card, what else is with your credit card?
Your ID.
Bam. What else is on your ID? Your zip code. Yes. I would say the PIN's the best. So now, somehow in Sherrill, England, my PIN's been used, and it withdrew $500 out of my account. So, needless to say, I only got 200 because I was in the red already.
So I'm skip what she's asking about the PIN though. If there's a skimmer on the thing, that's just on the card. So you're entering your PIN. That's not affecting the. They're not necessarily getting your PIN.
Yeah, anybody can get information, right? We just try to lower the chance, right? If we were back in the days when cash was cash was king then, right? Now cash is for cartel related, I'm trying to get it to Mexico or something, but, there's always a chance. It happens too often. There's people in Round Rock that I've busted with papers. Everybody thinks someone who has mental health or someone who's, I would say, a number, what's the term? So there's books I find that people have numbers down, right? They just write numbers and it looks like a crazy person's writing numbers. And what they're doing is they're following a pattern. that kind of the credit card number, remember the first 6 digits are your bank identification number. And then the rest is actually your specific number for your identification purposes of your bank account. These guys and girls, they do a lot of wild things. They'll dig in trash cans, they'll get information. So be careful what you put in your own trash. I've found them at hotels. Hotels have to keep the records of all the people who stay, right? They have to have a digital and they have to have a hard copy. Where do you think they store thousands of papers? In a room on a floor somewhere? Do you think they're standing there by it? No. I've had many times where people would break into them rooms because the clerk's middle of the night busy and they're stealing everybody's identification information, right? ID information, paperwork that you fill out. I've had times where, does anybody work for a company where they did an authorization on your card? Everybody ever heard of that? Nobody? You, sir? So companies will, instead of, Mike, if I want to send you to Odessa to work for a little bit, I'm not going to hand you the company credit card. I'm going to say, hey, go to here. We've already got your reservation. We've already committed or did the credit card authorization form. What is that form? It's all the information you need for them to run that card without actually having the card present, right? Hotels, they're supposed to freaking protect this thing like it was their life. Man, I've seen videos where a guy and girl walk in and they're like, hey, can we look at a room? I mean nice upscale. We don't have really upscale now, like Marriott, right? And where they, hey, can we look at a room? Has any of y'all ever looked at a room in a hotel? I mean, if you went to some, well, maybe not a Marriott or Hilton. Do you look at them? No, if you're going in an uneasy hotel, you're like, what is this place, You see a roach, crawling around. Yeah, you might want to look in the rooms. Now, so this lady, never been challenged before, okay, whatever. Yeah, come on, we got a room open for you. So they start to walk down the hallway. The male subject goes, oh, hold on, I got this call, right? So lady's like, oh, we'll go check it out, babe, don't worry. Well, while the male's on the phone, they're going down out of his. So what does the male do? He jumps the counter and he steals the credit card authorization book. Because by policy, they're supposed to put it in a secret, secured place. But just like people are normal people, they'll forget, they'll cut corners, right? They'll know, everybody knows. They might forget to do something. They know it's not what they're supposed to do, but they think, oh, it's never going to happen to me, right? That's what people do all the time. And then next thing you know, they get hundreds of forms of people's, especially companies. How long does it take to a company to realize that they've been defrauded out of a lot of money, right? Once a year when their CPA does the books, right? So, things happen.
I'm actually getting a lot better at this stuff because I have chase cards. Like if I go somewhere that I haven't been before, I try to buy something, they decline it. I get a text within about 30 seconds that say, "Did you try to buy?"
That's right, because who's taking the hit for it? The credit card company gives you your money back, right? Right. Yeah, but they are. That's why they have fraud investigators that are working big money, big cases. But honestly, is it beneficial for them to pay someone, $100 an hour to investigate $100 fraud? No, of course not. They're going to pay the money to people who are doing it for a living, big people, right? So that's why it's up to us as a community and local law enforcement to work together to try to figure out how and what and where it's happening. So it's hot now. Any other questions?
I'd like to bring it back a little bit home because there's a lot of the people here. I'm the one that fades the heat all the time when stuff's happening. Questions like, how come the police never patrol my street? What can we do about the speeders going down the road? Things like that. So I imagine a lot of people here want to hear that kind of stuff.
In regards to the...
What are the loud booms?
Oh. Okay, a boom is going to be a boom. That's a Facebook deal. 42 people. What was that boom? Okay.
That was on Christopher Avenue. You just heard it. That was a boom. Okay.
It's like Transformers.
Yeah. No. Sometimes booms, SWAT. We do flashbangs that are very loud. I think in the last 2 months there was a SWAT mission, actually a simultaneous SWAT mission off of Christopher Avenue, across and then off of Lasso at the same time. It was 2 SWAT teams hitting 2 different houses that are associated. So that's what some of the booms, yes. Yes, sir.
It just happened here This week?
This week.
Transformers.
Sunday? No, I don't think so. I don't think we.
Oh, you know what? Yes, that week, I was actually working, it was Sunday. It was over at Blessing Mobile Home, the backside. They were cutting across the park. I was actually the one looking for that call. I actually walked the streets, I know. That's funny you bring that up. There was 3 Hispanic kids with shorts that were running to Blessing from that area that they walked through to the park, Frontier. It was allowed.
You're saying when they throw a flashbang over the Chisholm Trail, we'll hear it here as a big boom?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
And they're
Very
proud
loud.
of that too.
Huh?
That it's loud.
What, talk SWAT team?
Yeah.
Well, I'd rather, you know, I got kids and family at home. I'd rather to interrupt their OODA loop process for them to make the decision to shoot me. So that's one of the tactical reasons, because when you're banging down the door, that's a clue that police are coming in, right? They still have time to do things, so that is more of a distractionary, you know, scare the pee out of them.
Maybe we can have a demonstration at National Night.
Yeah, maybe we'll. All right,
Speeding. Why don't you patrol my neighborhood?
speeding. Did y'all know y'all are the only neighborhood in Round Rock that has a speeding bump, or a speed bump?
Exactly. And when people say, why can't they put more speed bumps?
Because everybody talks about y'all's neighborhood. Throughout the community, they say, why don't we have speed bumps? And I say, let me tell you something. There's only one neighborhood in Round Rock that has speed bumps. It is y'all's neighborhood.
I live between 2 speed bumps and they do absolutely no good.
They do no
Over
good.
that one, they speed up to 45 to get to the next one, and they slow down in the same thing.
As a police officer, when I'm running fast in the middle of the night to somebody needing help, I dread them, because there is times that I'm scared I'm going to wreck. Because we have big areas. If I could just patrol your neighborhood, hey, I'd be proficient at it. I would know what's out of the norm. But an officer has to patrol other areas as well. And there was one question I want to tap on. No police officers patrol my area. That is not true.
Well, let me rephrase it.
Okay, because-
I never see any officers on my street.
Got it. Well, relatively, that's saying that you've got a good street. But I can guarantee you, there are officers out there. You're not out there 24 hours a day. We target crime areas. Understand, when the city's booming, meaning there is a lot of calls, there might be times that I don't hit up a neighborhood and patrol. Just because I'm so busy in certain areas, I don't have time, right? But we have different patrol shifts, and when the oncoming, you know, they do regular patrols. They got into other area, especially when it's very important, when something exigent happen in circumstances. I see yawning, I think they got it right. What else?
Why can't you put a speed trap on my street 24/7?
All right, why can't we put a speed trap 24/7? I understand we have 12,000 people in the city of Round Rock. We have 175 officers that work for the city of Round Rock. Do the math.
And they're not all on duty at the same time.
They're not on duty at the same time. We have roughly 95 patrol officers, 90 to 100 patrol officers working the streets of Round Rock. That's on patrol. So let's take that in half. So then you have a patrol shift, a 6 to 6 shift. You have between 14 to 22 officers working the whole city of Round Rock. During the week, we have a lot of businesses in Emerson, Dale, a lot of things. We have roughly 200,000 people in the city of Round Rock during the day, during the week. And then we're the sports capital, and there's a lot of things going on around. So we try, and if you don't see us, I'm sorry, but we are in the area, and our response time in this area is pretty quick compared to the average. Yes, sir.
And there are about 70 Round Rock schools
There's a
in the
bunch.
city of Round Rock.
Yes. Whenever the school district makes their own police department, I'm going to be so happy. Because all the officers that are taken out in the schools, which they're needed, trust me. Y'all know what just happened in Florida. They're needed. Now, we want them back on patrol. And you know, I'd rather more officers on the street. But let's be honest, police officers are expensive. You got 1.5 to 2 years of training just to be able to be on patrol on their own. Then you have to buy them a police car. You have to buy all the gear that goes with it. You have to buy all their equipment, their protective equipment. And then you got to pay their salary, which isn't the greatest. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to add police officers. Look, to add a fireman, all you gotta do is, say, come on in and, throw a bucket of water on fire, and then you're just.
I'm sure it goes over well with the fireman.
So, public safety is always the #1 priority. I live in Round Rock, in the city of Round Rock. I can tell you from my personal experience, I've been here since 2011, September 6, 2011. I could say majority of the officers really care and they want to be proactive. There are some officers that are going to be more proactive than others, but to everything, everybody has their purpose. Y'all know, y'all have had a career, y'all worked somewhere. Some people were better at certain things and then some were at different, right? But we work together, and in my opinion, if you look up the accreditation that the Round Police Department has, the CALIA certification, that's a national standard, like the cutting edge of law enforcement. You ask a lot of other agencies, they're going to we ain't touching CALIA, because it's a lot of work that we have to do to maintain. And that's like the updated policy and procedures, the best case practice, the best practices for a police department. So I love Round Rock and I love the community. So I think personally we have the best police department in Texas. I put my money. Yes, sir.
2 questions on the statistics on the front here.
Okay.
There's a big jump from August to September. School opening goes from like 82 in August to 134 in September. Yep. That's got to be, I assume that's probably the school's open.
Yeah. So, well, I don't know the circumstance specifically. We don't know when crime's going to happen specifically, or when, trends. I'd have to look. I can't answer that because I'd have to look at the years past that.
Well, actually, that's the second question is how does this compare to prior years? I mean, it'd be really interesting to see the data for, what's the trend over the last 5 years of, is it up, down, flat?
Great question. So let's look back. Did y'all read the article about crimes, violent crimes up by 20% in the city of Round Rock? All right.
That's like one crime.
All right. Let me put things in perspective, because how does that make the city of Round Rock look?
Terrible.
Terrible, right? So UCR is what we have to report to the FBI, right? Involved violent crimes and certain types of crimes. If you look at our UCR, and that actual news, y'all know the news agency is just as good as the internet, right? So if you look at that data, because we just had this conversation and the chief brought it up, he's actually presenting that because it upset him. Because if you look at, because that report says from 2012 to 2017, right? 20% up violent crime in Round Rock. All right. There is no data in between. They didn't do 13, 14, 15, 16, because they would see this, right? There was no trend of, oh my God.
How many was it in 2012?
Hold on, let me get to that. So in 2012, remember, this is just 2012, for violent crimes for the UCR data, 29 more calls in 2017. 29 more violent crime calls. If you look at perspective of how many total calls for service, I think he broke it down to like 180 calls. That's total calls. That means somebody calling in saying, hey, I think the IRS just had a scam on the phone, right? It's not a, little things, stuff like that. It could be somebody calling for advice. So if you look at the numbers, how does that make it look, right? They made it look like, hey, oh my God, violent crime's up. But if you look at the years past in 2012, or in front, 13, 14, 15, you can see the pattern. But what do we know confirmed happened from 2012 to 2017?
Population increase.
Bam. Population growth.
Population within the neighborhood hasn't gone up.
I'm sorry?
Population within the neighborhood hasn't gone up.
This is,
So, I mean, it would be interesting to see the statistics for the neighborhood, over the years as to, hey, is there a trend?
Yes, sir.
Up, down?
And that's information you can get to.
Yeah, I'll give the last couple of years and I'll shoot it to Mike and you can see it. Let me write that down.
Does that have anything to do with the number of apartments that have been going in around here?
Oh man, you had to throw it in. All right.
Those are all on the other side of town. Don't worry about them over here.
Right. So I'm gonna be honest. I'm all about honesty. City of Round Rock has built a new. Well, I'm gonna put things in perspective. a new apartment complex that is affordable housing, right? Everybody knows what affordable housing is, right? You have to make it less than the amount of income to be able to move in. There's a long waiting list to move in, right? We now have metro system to the city.
Who's paying for that?
We are taxpayers.
We voted against it. I don't remember seeing it come up again to have it.
You're asking a question way outside of my will.
And I don't think that was ever anything, and I don't know the mechanics of that, and that may have something to do with federal requirements.
I'm pretty sure it's more of
Housing urban
the
development.
people. Yes, the people our city is proactive. We try to bring money into the city. Do you agree? We're trying to keep our taxes low. So how do we do that with business? We want business in the city of Rockland. But there are federal grants, state funding that we can tap into if we meet that criteria, right? So some things as a business perspective, because the city of Rockland is a business, right? It is a business.
Yes.
As a business perspective, it made sense at the time due to the population and things that are coming, because ultimately we can't discriminate against people because of their economic, upbringing or whatever challenge they have, right? So I'm going to say this. There was a brand new apartment complex. There is a brand new, it's not brand new anymore. It was developed and we had issues from the beginning. Violent crime issues, shootings, things like that. And it was an affordable housing property. In 1 month period, they had 160 something calls.
Is this the one on Sunrise?
No comment. Now, what have we done as a police department? We've done a lot of things to address these incidents. The chief of police, you're very close now. Very nice looking. The chief of police, hey, we all knew at patrols, we have an issue. This is a brand new property. We should not be having this type of stuff around because it doesn't usually happen. Right? When we're seeing shootings and people getting hit and things like that, doing drive-bys in an apartment complex, there's an issue. Brand new. Brand new shouldn't have problems until way down the road, right? So what did we do? The chief of police said, you know what? He didn't like what was happening. So how could we help lower that? He assigned a police officer. His full-time job now is to help investigate traffic collisions. And then the second part of it, well, maybe the first part now, due to the need, is working with the economic development, what is it called again, Mike? The urban housing development, yes. So what he does is he have weekly meetings with these apartment complexes that have been identified as troubled areas. And any calls for service, he will give that information so that they can evict them, right? And what happens when they try to evict them? Oh, it ain't me, it's my boyfriend, or oh, hey, it's this. What we see to happen, and this is everywhere, I'm not saying this specific apartment complex, people like to sublease because they know that the waiting list to get onto this apartment complex is very long. And when they get on it, do they want to lose it? Absolutely not. And y'all know there's systems that people abuse, and they sublease even though the government's paying for it, and then they get double dip, right? Because they're renting. Not saying that's the case, but that's an issue that we've addressed, and I personally believe, due to the involvement we've had, that we've lowered that number as well. Great question. Anything else? What else?
Anybody else? Any questions?
You sure? Officers. So like our area, I-35 to the 45 and then McNeil up to 620, that block. It's like how many officers per shift are actually kind of assigned to that section?
Great question. So your beat is considered Charlie 1. That is the beat officer, Charlie 1. On each shift, there's 2 patrol officers that are assigned to Charlie 1. Does that mean they stay in your district? No. Does that mean other districts around will come to your area? Absolutely not. They'll come in your area. We help each other. But if somebody takes vacation, You know, or there's times that no Charlie 1's assigned officer. But then they would have to send another officer to kind of cover that area as well. They'll call in overtime, hey, we need somebody to cover this specific beat. But your beat is all the way from McNeil, all the way up to, I don't want to say Sam Bass. So everything west of 35 and everything north of McNeil and kind of along Sam Bass, but not really. Sam Bass it's kind of actually along the Round Rock Creek, right? The Russia Creek area. So that's kind of, does that make sense?
Which goes off, it goes over to
Wyoming Springs.
Wyoming Springs, right?
Yep, the Oaklands, all that. But I can tell you this, and you're going to laugh, but every month we do general staff meeting, and of course every other week we have command staff meeting. And we have lieutenants that are over specific beats. And I laugh because every time I have to talk to everybody, big wigs in the department, I have to go everything community related I've done, the things that I've seen, the things that everybody addresses to me, things we fix because I got everybody important in the room to kind of disseminate the information. And every time, and it's kind of funny, they always say, Charlie 1, what's going on? And the lieutenant or the sergeant's like, oh, we got it on lockdown. Because y'all's area is, we joke about y'all's area, like Charlie 1, because we say, that's where the lazy officers go, because they don't have much work to do. I'm being honest, they don't have much, and we make fun of them. Yes, sir, last question.
This may be kind of piddly, but what if there is a dog that barks continuously, day and night? Is there anything that we can do to...
Yes. Do you have any what? No, I'm just kidding. So, yes. If it's an annoyance, there is ordinance violations for animal control that police officers can enforce or animal control can enforce. If it's continuous for 10 minutes, that's an ordinance violation.
10 minutes, no.
10 minutes. Yeah. But if it's intermittent, I think it's, don't quote me, I think it's 30 minutes or an hour intermittent. Right? 30 minutes. So 10 minutes consistent or intermittently over 30 minutes within a night. If you call it in, you can do it anonymous because the officer's going to go there.
And we have animal control in our neighborhood too.
They're going to listen.
No, they listen.
And a lot of times officers won't even deal with, they'll go and be that ear of animal control. Because she didn't listen. No. And officers, they can deal with it. Usually they'll just do the legwork and listen. And if it's, hearing dog barking, they'll document it. And then the next day when animal control comes in, they will actually follow up with it and issue appropriate citation or things like that. Does that help?
When you say nighttime, is there a...
Sorry, sir, that's it.
Understanding.
So nighttime. It could be during the day too, because if you're sleeping during the day as well. Okay. So it's no specific time, but I think the city ordinance classifies nighttime, I think at 9 p.m., but don't quote me to 5 or 6. But that's any time.
I think what you're saying is animal control people are used
to animal control's normal hours, right? They won't get dispatched after hours unless it's a violent animal or something that they get paged at. And we have policy of what we can page them out, pay them overtime to come in and deal with. Bats, man, that's the craziest thing. They'll get paged out for bats because, it's emergency for bats. Don't touch bats. So, any other questions? Sorry, sir.
I just want to thank you guys for all you do. I don't feel afraid.
Y'all live in the lockdown area.
I'm going to follow up on a couple of things. You can correct me if I'm wrong. You can call me Mark or Joe or whatever you want for the next 2 years. Okay? All right. A couple of things he was talking about. Now, you mentioned SWAT. You left SWAT because this is in Round Rock. You probably get more activity dealing with homeowners that's like violent activity than dealing with SWAT in Round Rock, right?
It's hit or miss. Sometimes it's pretty active. But our investigations can go all the way up and up the far as Bastrop. Because if it's our case that was in Round Rock at one point, and then we're trying to get the bigger fish, and they're living in Bastrop on a compound, we're going to hit it.
Well, one thing you guys have heard, some of you have heard before when they've talked to us is, why is Little Round Rock need SWAT teams and all this equipment and stuff? Remember, we're on a major thoroughfare, and there's a lot of gang, cartel, all kinds of stuff coming in and out of here. So we can be a hot spot. Plus, we got if he hit those unlocked, he hit those you know, those are not break-ins, those are let-ins. And we see that more often than not. And what happens a lot is you'll see when school's out, and this happens during Christmas break, summertime, spring break and stuff, a lot of times I think if you followed the records, you'd see a spike in it. Kids at night will just go up and down the street checking cars, and if they're open, they'll go rifle through them. And so there's nothing, you reduce by 90% your chance of losing something out of your car if you just lock it. I mean, there's going to be those that get broken in. We know that. That's going to happen occasionally, but it is so rare in our neighborhood. So, and if I was a police officer, I would want Charlie 1.
I want to say one more thing, Mike. In regards to Charlie 1, which is y'all's area, I personally feel y'all, we have the most successful burglary solved in y'all's neighborhood. Because there's not a lot of exits and entrance, right? We can kind of block them off. And, Jeffrey Farms, that's a great one. There's only 2 entrances and 2 exits out of that thing. The same one. So there's 2 exits. Y'all's actually isn't bad because a lot of times they are residential kids in the area. Y'all have great, response to the citizens' input. And we solve a lot of crimes in Charlie 1.
We have a lot of neighbors.
Because of the neighbors telling us, hey, we see this kid. And a lot of times kids will rap when they see police. Oh, no, we did it. You got weed.
As far as traffic in the neighborhood goes, I've lived in 3 houses in this neighborhood, 2 of them on Main Street. I've lived on Deepwood for 10 years, and where I'm at right now for about 11 years, okay? So I've lived on 2 of the busiest streets in the neighborhood. And I'm qualified to judge the traffic going through the neighborhoods that are considered the cut-through streets. And I'm just gonna tell you, two things occurred. When they opened these toll roads first, traffic went down, cut-through traffic went through the neighborhood noticeable. Not significant, but noticeable. When O'Connor opened, it went, okay? So now I only have, in the morning on Oak Ridge, maybe for an hour, and then in the evening, maybe for an hour, and the rest of the day, it's like nothing. So it's just those 2 rush hour times that there's a little bit, so.
Mike,
yes.
but you said no more questions, so I'm going to.
No, go ahead.
I got until midnight. He hit his maximum.
When the high school takes lunch, it gets bad.
Yes.
So
for like a few minutes though. I mean, it's not like 2 hours worth of busy traffic.
it doesn't matter if it's I'm saying it gets bad when the high schoolers were going to lunch. A lot of times it's our neighbors, but I've noticed, and I live on Oak Ridge and Ridge, so I'm right down the street.
Now, are they going home for lunch?
No, they're going to eat lunch. And they're rushing back to school.
Yes.
So could the police department maybe make a contact to the principal and, would make more of a contact than one of us maybe?
Kids are kids, but look, I want to interrupt one more time.
Please interrupt.
So Edgar Acres, y'all know where Edgar is?
Yeah.
Okay. It's an older community, kind of like yours, right? They complain about speeders. Joe Grimm with the city said, hey, Angelo, is there any way he took it out of his budget, that he is his budget, and he wanted to pay for an off-duty officer to work speed enforcement? So I was like, well, the time frame that they're looking, I'm actually on that day off, so hey, I'll tap into that time and a half. Yes, I'll do it. I've stopped in a 4-hour period, well actually 3 hours and 15 minutes, and I'll tell you what, I stopped 10 cars. 9, I gave everybody tickets. Good. 9 of them were all residents. And guess what happened? People were like, man, what's going on? Okay, and on top of that, and the reason it was only 3.5 hours, is one of the stops, it was a young gentleman with a little bit of weed, and he actually ran from me, so. He went to jail eventually, but I was in a nice uniform, so I didn't want to jump the fence, so.
That was the next thing on my list. The other thing too is I've made it a habit, because I go up down Deepwood and Oak Ridge a lot. When I see someone that's driving, the other day, there's like 3 people at the same time posted. Apparently somebody was screaming up Oak Ridge. When I see those, a lot of times I'll follow them. And like he said, 9 times out of 10, they're not going through to 620 or McNeil. They're going down and they'll turn off on Rock Creek, or they'll turn off onto a street. They live in the neighborhood. So 9 out of 10 of them, I promise you, live in the neighborhood of people that are speeding. So the best thing you can do is just keep your eyes open, maybe see where they go.
But if you want, what I can do is next week or the week after, depending on my schedule, if you want, I can come out there I'll block out an hour or 2 and free of charge. Well, actually, you just pay my salary. And I'll come write everybody tickets. And I won't tell them, what's your name now? I won't say your name.
I'll tell where she lives.
When you follow somebody, if they start seeing that you're following, it might scare them a little bit, right? And then you approaching them, how are they going to perceive that?
Yeah, you don't want to approach them. Never. Do not approach them.
If you see them in your
If I'm in the yard,
hey, slow down.
if I'm in the yard and I see them speeding by, if I yell at them.
Oh, I do that all the time.
Now just don't throw the hammer at the car or anything like that.
First, get off my
But I'm 6'3", 300 pounds too, so.
Right. Is there anything that can be done, like when the high school lets out, they've got both roads jammed. They got Deepwood Extension, it's jammed up, you can't get out of.
What are you
But
gonna
when
do?
they built that, they said it was temporary on Deepwood Extension.
The problem, and I know exactly what you're talking about on
Can't
Deepwood.
get out.
They didn't make the pocket deep enough. The left turn pocket needs to be a lot deeper. I don't
And
know
the
what the
lights
answer
need
is
to be
there.
changed.
Well, I tell you when that answer is gonna come along. At some point in time, somebody's gonna buy that corner land across the street, and then Deepwood's gonna get redone right there, reconfigured some way or another, and that's probably when it'll happen. But I wouldn't hold my breath any time sooner than that.
Well, no, it's just kind of a.
Apartments, he talked about apartments. The city of Round Rock actually has zoning right now that you can only build apartments in certain areas. So it's not like they're gonna come up with an apartment complex up on Deepwood or something. Because there's guidelines that the city has, they've done a great job in their future land use planning in this respect, because they understand, like what Angela was talking about, that when you bring apartments, I don't care how nice they are, there's issues come with them. So at least this way, I think the way they're thinking is if we kind of keep them together, it's a little easier to keep watching
But
them.
if you have 16 of those complexes with 50 apartments in each one, do you know how many people that puts on the road?
I understand.
That's stupid to be building
We don't have
stuff.
to deal with that in our neighborhood.
Well, no, but what, I drive, University,
I hate it too.
Sunrise.
I live in that area, Sunrise University. I know when not to turn down University.
All I can tell you
That being said, ma'am, there is a city council spot that is opening up. Please run for election.
Yeah,
He wants to run, but he lives in Terra Vista, which isn't part of the city.
No, it's not.
He-
So I have one more thing for you. So the city, the population right now is about 120,
It's about 112.
112 to 115. Build out somewhere between 250 and 300,000. Guess where all those people are going? They're going to the northeast. They're all going to go in the northeast quadrant of Round Rock. So all I can tell you is don't go to the northeast quadrant of Round Rock.
Yeah, but it's a shame when you can't go down your streets that you've gone down forever because you're sticking all these apartments.
I don't know what to tell you. I wish I had an answer for that
I
problem.
like it when progress demands.
Well, soon we're gonna have flying cars.
And the affordable housing issue is, I mean, a lot of y'all may not know that, we have an affordable housing complex right here in our neighborhood. Two of them. And I actually wish that some of the neighbors in our neighborhood would keep their houses as nice as those guys, that place is kept. Okay, so it's, and we have very little issues there, do we? Where, I mean, I don't ever hear of a bunch of calls or problems.
Where at?
Right out of Lakewood or right there by the high school.
Mainly Overby, I think.
Oh, you're talking about off of Glenda and all that?
No, that's the duplexes on Glen. I'm talking about across Lake Creek, there's Lakewood, and I forgot what.
Oh, you're talking about Brenda?
No,
Westwood.
Westwood, off Westwood.
Oh.
They've been there.
There is,
There's a complex
there
right
is
there.
issues there, but like I said, we have that officer that works with them, Westwood Apartments, and that little strip. But it's a small number of
It's a very
residents.
small number of
It's
residents,
very small.
but they're here.
But I wouldn't lie to say I've been there many times.
But we do have, and I understand, we have Glenda, which has, like, it's all renters on Glenda. Well, not all, but like 90% of them are renters.
But the city bought the property, I believe, to the east of Hootie's and all that, right? What is that street next?
Oh, well, you're talking about Brentwood, that's a little lower.
Yes, I think the city bought a lot of them.
Those houses, there's like 4 of those houses that are gonna be taken out with the 620 expansion and the railroad tracks. Yes, sir? Mr. Ray, you have a question? Anybody else? Okay, well, I appreciate it, and yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I was late. Did I miss the fireworks conversation?
Oh, yes, okay, so that was the other conversation on Facebook, so So I got roasted on Facebook by several people. Because my comment was, no, my comment was, and I face the music, and when I say something, everybody was bitching about fireworks, okay? And I'm going, it's a couple times a year for a few days. I would rather have our officers chasing criminals and so forth than getting fireworks. And then I got roasted because, yeah, but look at all the fires. There's not been one fire in this neighborhood in 40 years caused by fireworks. So that was my...
They have the law. Then let's just keep the law. Everybody build fireworks they want.
I get it, but...
I read an article the other day.
You tell me.
All right. Let's talk about schools. How many, in the last 50 years, how many school fires have you seen where kids died in a fire?
None.
No.
Then why did they have
fire
water sprinklers and fire alarms throughout?
So he was kind of thanking the boomers, which was me. I'll go ahead and say I'm a boom, was that boom person, because I cannot tell the difference between a firework, a gun, a backfire, a transformer. It would be nice to know, so we asked, what's the boom? So most of the times it turns out to be fireworks.
Yeah.
Okay, I did live in a city growing up where a house was burned down by fireworks because they didn't have the law, now they do. So here's the deal. If we do happen to say, hey, there's fireworks going on, we see the fireworks are going on, they have promised us that if we call you, we are taking you away from a horrible, vicious, grisly murder, and you don't have the time to come to
Those weren't my words. I did not say that.
If you have a grisly murder to attend to, please do. But if y'all don't have to, you can come get the fireworks person.
Is this during 4th of July or?
No, that's the whole. No, that's the
Okay.
whole thing. So across, Christopher, yeah. They go off every Friday night, pretty much. Friday and Saturday nights. I mean, it's not often. Yeah, it's not often, but it's after January 1st. It was every weekend. It was every Friday night, maybe 1, 2, or 3, something like that. But it was every week. It's slowed down now, but it's not confined by any means to New Year's Eve and July 4th. By any means.
Because I will complain on New Year's Eve, 4th of July, the ones where you expect it, but then there's random other 3 o'clock in the morning, a round of 10 fireworks goes off.
But see, when they come between your house and your neighbor and they blow up at roof level, and then all of their trash is in your yard.
No, my thing is, if it's not the time to do them, please report it. I'm the type that if I have to be inconvenienced and deal with it, you're going to get a ticket, and I'm going to confiscate your contraband.
And I'm in agreement with this. Believe me. I believe.
On New Year's or 4th of July, it goes back to there's 18 officers in the city of Round Rock, and there's 1,000 report of fireworks, and then you got what goes on 4th of July and New Year's too.
And generally those are going to have responsible adults with them, but the ones that just go off
It's the
on
responsible
random
adults.
Fridays, that's your 14.
Well,
No, yeah, and you need to report that. That can,
And I'm not suggesting not report it. That's not what I meant by what
Well, there was suggestions that,
If I did that, I apologize.
I'm not saying he did, I'm not saying he did.
But
I can't provide it.
I did. But the challenge is, and here's my thinking of the challenge. You talked about patrolling a while ago. Charlie 1 has 2 officers. Okay, something happens in Charlie 2. What happens? Those 2 officers are going to run over to Charlie 2
to help the Charlie 2.
Just like the fire department. If fire engine 5 gets called over, another fire company has to watch our neighborhood. Okay, so and that happens all the time, and so that's my thinking is okay. We've got to prioritize
But
these
see, I
things.
trust them to
But if they're
prioritize
not
on their
gonna-
end because I can't possibly know
I got it.
where they are. So if they're busy, I totally get it. But if they aren't busy, I'm
So we've used
It is
Nextdoor.
allowed.
We can post things to everybody in the city on our social media to Nextdoor, but we can't view y'all's comments to each other in y'all's community, right? They
No,
don't
I send
allow-
you the strings of those.
Yeah, right, because I can see it and I can pinpoint, because a lot of times people are like, yeah, there's another neighbor that sees it, it's like, yeah, it was my neighbor. I love that. I love going to do a knock and talk and deal with certain things.
You make that sound so polite.
I love knock and talks. But no, anytime that you know something's not report it, right? The law is a tactic. Do you agree? I mean, it's the law of the land. And does everybody follow the law? Absolutely not. To criminals, their laws don't, they don't follow that. Now, but report it, please.
And it's not a 911 call.
That's correct. Unless the house is on fire because of it, right? Unless the house is on fire because of it.
Okay, thank you guys so much. Great turnout tonight. I love it. Anything last thing before we go? Thank you, guys.